Rooted in struggle, why Islamic history and seerah must shape our lives. We live in an age of disconnection, not just from one another, but from our roots, our purpose, and ultimately, from God. You'll find Muslims scattered across the globe, equipped with smartphones and degrees, fluent in hashtags, drowning in comforts, yet strangely lost. Rootless, spiritually hollow. They may pray and fast, attend the occasional khutbah, post an ayah on Instagram. But something essential is missing. A sense of identity, of weight, of belonging to something greater than themselves. We've become orphans of our own legacy. And this didn't happen overnight. Disconnection from our Islamic history, from the seerah of the Prophet, peace be upon him, is not a random accident. It's a strategic loss. Because once you disconnect a people from their story, you can redefine them, you can program them, you can manipulate them. They'll mistake confusion for freedom, rebellion for empowerment, pleasure for progress, and slavery to ego for self-expression. The spiritual amnesia we suffer from isn't just a tragedy. It's a calculated outcome of forgetting who we are, what we carry, and whose blood built the roads we now walk on freely. Allah never left us without a compass. The Quran and Sunnah are filled with divine imperatives to remember, travel through the land and see what was the end of those before you. In their stories is a lesson for people of reason. Relate the stories that perhaps they will give thought. These are not poetic suggestions, they are commands. Because in remembrance lies revival, in reflection lies resistance, and in the stories of the past lies the map to our future. History in Islam is not dead data, it is living guidance. It's how God shows us the rise and fall of civilizations, the consequences of arrogance, and the eternal law. That truth always triumphs, but not without sacrifice. At the heart of this history is the seerah, the life of our beloved Prophet. It is not just the biography of a man, it is revelation in motion. It is the living Quran. Through it, we see how mercy operates in a brutal world, how justice looks when it's lived, not just spoken, how dawah is done with wisdom, strategy, and sincerity, how patience is tested not in comfort, but in humiliation, betrayal, and war. The seerah spans every human emotion, every social challenge, every spiritual peak and valley, orphanhood, leadership, grief, victory, loss, migration, statecraft, family, and above all, faith in the face of impossibility. Why is this important? Because in today's world, many of us look for solutions in all the wrong places. We chase TED Talks, self-help books, psychology hacks, and trendy ideologies, hoping to feel less lost, more whole. But all the answers have already been lived. Every test you face, there's a moment in the seerah that reflects it. Every temptation, every confusion, every hardship, you'll find it in the life of the Prophet or his companions. But without studying it, you're like a blind man on a battlefield, armed with rituals but no direction. This blindness is part of the identity crisis afflicting our ummah. Many Muslims today can't articulate what Islam means beyond a set of do's and don'ts. So when modernity comes offering feminism, nationalism, liberalism, humanism, or secularism, they swallow it. Not out of malice, but ignorance. Because they don't know their own framework, they borrow someone else's. But the root problem is historical amnesia. A tree that's cut off from its roots might look green for a time, but it's dying. Likewise, Muslims who lose connection to their past may still fast, pray, or even advocate for Islam. But the depth, the confidence, the vision dies. Reconnecting to Islamic history isn't just educational, it's existential. It restores your roots. It reminds you that the ummah has always been tested, that trials are not anomalies, they're the pattern, that every generation had tyrants, enemies, internal divisions. But through it all, Allah preserved the deen. That realization alone gives you spiritual oxygen. It removes despair. It breeds conviction. It teaches you that revival is not a fantasy, it's a cycle, and we are part of it. Too often we say we're proud to be Muslim, but do we understand what it cost? Islam did not arrive to us on a silver platter. It came on the backs of slaves like Bilal, with stones crushing his chest under the burning sun. It came through the cries of Sumayya, who was speared to death for saying, "My Lord is Allah," through the tears of the Prophet as he buried his own children, through the scars of the Sahaba, exiled from their homes, hunted, tortured, starved, and slain. Every masjid you walk into, every ayah you recite, every drop of Islamic knowledge you consume, it was purchased by someone else's pain. To forget this is not just disrespect, it is betrayal. We reduce Islam to a weekend identity, a culture, a checkbox. But Islam was not inherited to be worn like clothing. It was entrusted to us to be lived, upheld, and passed on. That's what makes history sacred. It isn't nostalgia, it's responsibility. Now consider the disease of the modern age. We are not suffering from too little, but from too much. Too much food, too much noise, too much content, too much comfort. We're overstimulated and under-reflective. Our hearts are numbed by endless entertainment. Our minds dulled by scrolling. We don't need prisons anymore. We are imprisoned by pleasure. Ego is our new god. We worship ourselves through filters, likes, and curated identities. We seek validation from strangers. We binge on dopamine. We avoid pain. We fear discomfort. And so we lose depth and discipline and dignity. History is the cure to this illusion. It humbles us. It shatters the lie that you can have greatness without struggle, that you can be a believer without sacrifice, that jhana can be earned through ease. It reminds us that the greatest humans bled, cried, failed, and rose again. That the Sahaba didn't Netflix their evenings away. That the scholars didn't chase fame, they chased truth. That legacies were carved through pain, not platforms. And the Seerah is not just personal therapy, it's political resistance. The Prophet was not just a teacher, he was a revolutionary. He disrupted power structures. He challenged racism, tribalism, classism, greed, and corruption. He built a new society with divine ethics. He didn't just preach piety, he led an ummah. He prepared his people not just for heaven, but for leadership. The early Muslims didn't hide in caves, they changed the world. And they did it through patience, wisdom, and unwavering tawheed. In a world colonized by secularism, where religion is treated like a private hobby, the Seerah becomes a weapon. It awakens you to the fact that Islam is not a weekend ritual, it is a worldview. That your values are not negotiable. That truth is not up for auction. That your job, comfort, or popularity are never worth more than Allah's pleasure. History teaches us to live with purpose. It reorients us. When you remember that you descend from people who memorized Quran in chains, who built civilizations while under siege, who spread Islam without empires, you stop living like a consumer. You stop wasting time. You ask better questions. What am I doing with my life? What will I leave behind? Am I an answer to someone's dua? Or just another passive link in a broken chain? Because you are not random. You are not just a digital native in a decaying world. You are a Muslim, a link in a sacred chain, a spiritual descendant of men and women who bore scars so you could live free. This identity isn't a trend, it's a trust, and that trust is heavy, but it is also an honor. When you study Seerah and history, you hear the voices of those who came before you, whispering from the past. We held the line so you could carry it forward. Will you rise, or will you forget? Every revival in Islamic history came when people remembered the Quran not just in recitation, but in action. Remembered the Prophets not just in nasheeds, but in emulation. Remembered their scholars not just as quotes, but as models to imitate. From Salah al-Din to Sheikh Uthman Dan Fodio, revival began with remembrance. And remembrance begins with learning. So open the books, watch the documentaries, read the biographies, reflect on the lives of those who came before you. Because in doing so, you will rediscover yourself. You'll awaken the soul that has been sedated by comfort and ego. You'll realize that you are not here to blend in. You are here to carry a flame, and history is the fuel that keeps it burning. You are not a random accident born into a digital age of decay. You are a Muslim, a descendant, spiritually or biologically, of those who built with sincerity, cried in prostration, stood firm in battle, and carried the Quran across continents. But this identity is not a costume, it is a trust. History and Seerah are not dusty books, they are mirrors to your potential. They are cries from the past saying, we struggled so you could rise. Will you honor us or forget us? You are the result of someone's prayer, someone's sacrifice, someone's death.